Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vicki Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach. And it's all about embracing our mosaic life. Now, some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it is recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, even the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing, and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. I am your host, and I have a special guest that I'll introduce in just a moment. But before I do, I would love to ask you to do me a solid, and that is leave a comment, leave a question, and also remember to like, subscribe, and share. So now let's get started. So this lovely lady right here, DeLisa Seals, I'm so excited to have her on my podcast and introduce her to you guys. I don't know her that well. She's actually part of my Stand Up and Stand Out community on Facebook. And I did look over a few little things, and I see you've written a book and you've got grandchildren, and there's so much to explore. But if you don't mind, if you would, for our listeners, our viewers, just tell a little touch about you, where you're from and everything, and then we'll get started.
No, I'm DeLisa Seals, and I just turned 50 this year.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
well, yeah, thank you. And I'm from Youngstown, but 6 years ago I moved to a little town, Sebring. It's a small little village, actually, not even a town. I'm a head clerk in the library in town. I live really close. I can actually walk to work. That's how small the
Oh,
little town is.
wow, that's nice.
And so, and like you said, I have three kids. My daughter's the oldest. My children are 33, 29, and my youngest will be 19. And I have 9 grandchildren.
Wow, lucky you. Lucky you. All right. So I want to ask you, so where did you grow up? Where did you say you grew up?
In Youngstown, Ohio. I
Okay.
grew up
All
in
right.
Youngstown.
So I wasn't sure. I know you said Youngstown, but I thought, where is that? Where is that? My
Yeah,
geography
Youngstown,
is
Ohio.
terrible.
And yeah, and it's not the Youngstown you're hearing about now. I had really I had a lot of fun growing up, as a
Yeah.
kid.
Mm-hmm.
In town. So, it's just keep them in your prayers.
Yeah, yeah. So, when you were growing up in Youngstown, did you have siblings?
Yes, I'm the oldest of 4. And
Okay.
there's 3 girls and I'm only one boy. My brother is the baby. I still my baby, even though he's 39.
Well, that sounds like me too, because I'm the second to the oldest and of 4, and the baby is the boy. The rest of us are girls. So it's
Okay.
pretty funny. We've got some connection here. I feel it. I feel
Right, right.
it. So what did you like doing the most when you were little?
Well, I was raised up by my grandparents, and living in the house, we always had family over. We always had cousins, the kids next door to play. So, I mean, bike riding was a big thing, to get on our bikes and just go. But my sister and I used to just, everything was, imaginative play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was younger, my grandparents were very religious, and they were Baptists. And my mother was Church of God in Christ. So I said I grew up Baptist, Church of God in Christ, and superstitious, right? So I had it all like covered, right? So, but we used to go outside and play, and I'm still friends with the kids, well, the one family that lived next door. But
Oh.
we would play church, and I was always the minister, and my sister was the choir. She
Oh
was
my
the choir.
gosh.
But I mean, we would,
When I was
be
a kid,
out
we played
there.
school. You played church. I love it.
Right. And then we would go over next door to their house after church, and we would have saltine crackers and grape juice for communion. So
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Oh, that's crazy, crazy. Well, I can see why you say you had fun as a young child.
Yeah, I mean, we just always came up with everything, my sister and I. And in Ohio, the big thing is Buckeyes.
Hmm.
So my sister and I would go get like these Buckeyes, and my grandfather would sit, and my grandfather was a fisherman, and he was a hunter. So we
Hmm.
grew up on wild game and all of that, but we would go get Buckeyes, and Grandpa would sit and make necklaces for us out of them. So we would wear these huge Buckeye necklaces around. But I mean, yeah, we were always doing something.
So with your siblings and then the neighbor kids, there was probably quite a few then, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a neighborhood full of kids. I mean,
Yeah,
there could be 10 or 15 kids outside,
yeah.
all the time. And but my grandmother, like on Saturday mornings, because they grew up, my grandparents were born in Mississippi, so we grew up with very old school values. So and Saturday morning after you ate breakfast, you did chores first. So all the kids are outside playing, and you're downstairs with the ringer washer, washing clothes and hanging up clothes and doing all that before you can go out and play. So I mean, I mean, there was a lot of structure. There was a lot of
Yeah.
structure, but there was also a lot of fun.
Yeah. So does that mean if there was a lot of structure, does that mean as soon as you got away from home that it was like, hallelujah, I don't have all these rules anymore?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And that's why with writing my book, I started to write a one woman show about my grandmother called Homage. Still in the process of writing it because there's all these stories, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to keep it to an hour. But my grandmother would say things like, you won't appreciate the things I'm telling you till you're 30. But she didn't realize it would take me to 45 to really appreciate it.
Well, there's an exception to every rule, right?
Right, right, right.
So, what is it that made you decide to do this one woman show about your grandmother?
Well, I mean, I was toying with the idea a little bit. I've been doing storytelling on stage. I joined a
Hmm.
storytelling group to try to get my confidence back up because I always wrote poetry and I haven't done it for a long time. And with Stacy and Sean, they were doing a Do the Big Dream, and they were like, doing this live, and they said, well, "What is your big dream?" And I typed it before I could think about it, and I said, "I want to do a one woman show about my grandma." And I was like, "Oh no, wish I could take that back."
Now, now it's out there. It has to happen, right?
Right. So I started writing it, but it's just like, like I started, with the stories. It put me through like a grieving process though with my grandmother, a
Hmm.
little bit. And it was just like, but I said such a good foundation with them. And it just really, I'm just really appreciative. And she was a character. So now I just want everybody else to know her too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this is anything that would benefit you or not, but I just recently, not too long ago, had a guest on my podcast and he was a writer. And one of the things that he said he did was he did voice notes. He would talk into his phone or his device and he would tell the stories that he was wanting to tell. And then he would take that and have print it out. And then he would edit from there because he said that sometimes in the typing, he wouldn't think about things that when he was just talking that came out. And so that might be something that you could try to do. And then you just print them out and then you can just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been writing, but I've been, like recording. Because then
Hmm.
after I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, what did I? Because I can ramble, like how you're writing, but when you're talking, you just ramble. But
Hmm.
like you said, gives you a little more clarity about what you want to write because it's very interesting like how you said with them writing like that, like when you're talking and you're telling a story, it kind of excites you and it brings up another memory.
Hmm.
But then you're
It's a
writing, it's
whole
just
new
like, oh, you
level, right?
right. And because when you're writing, you just want to get it out. You want to hurry up and write it down before you forget.
Yeah, yeah. And like with and Stacy's the accelerator program, one of the things that she has us do is that she gives us the dares, and then you just get on the screen on the Zoom or on a live, and you just talk about it. And then you ramble, and once you've rambled a while, the ideas and the things that will come up that you never even thought you remembered, but you did at some level. So it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting, the power of words.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
especially how they connect people, how they connect different things, like how you could, I went through a real big transformation during COVID, and it's amazing how your life can change once your perception change and once your words start changing, and my self-talk started changing. And that's how I came out with my book, Clearing the Room. It's because it was just my journey of transformation, and it's just like, going through healing and, saying, oh, I'm healed, but actually going and doing the work. It's actually hard, but it's actually, worth it, and it
Hmm.
was necessary for me to actually get to this point.
So what happened during COVID that you had to heal from?
Well, well, just going through from abusive relationship to abusive relationship, and then during COVID, I got out of an abusive relationship. That was 2 years, and I was with my son. But that's why I moved from Youngstown to Sebring. I made a big jump into another city, and I got out of that relationship, and it was like during COVID, and we stayed in a hotel. And so I was going through school. I graduated college, and then my son was going through school because, I was teaching him. And I just said, Lord, if you want me to stay here, just provide us a place. And we've been here. I had to start all over again and everything else. But that's been 4 years. And I mean, it's just been so peaceful and just great. I mean, just the journey I'm on now. I'm just enjoying the journey now.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. One of the things that I talk about a lot is how if we can look at the things in our life as a journey and put on our explorer's hat and figure out what it was supposed to teach us, all the crap and things that we go through, and then how to make it better going forward, it's makes it so much more enjoyable to do that than to go from, and I'm not saying you did this, but I know a lot of people, they go through hardship and they have to make these hard choices, and then they feel like a victim because they went through all those things. And not to say people aren't victims at some level, but when you stay in that victim place, you stay in that victim place. And
Right.
so that's where the power of the words, like you're talking about, comes from. Because if you can't figure out how to get out of that spot where you feel like such a victim and you feel like things are always happening to you and not for you, then it's just going to continue. And that's why it's so important to be working on the words that you say to yourself. One of my favorite books is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Have you ever read that book?
No, I haven't read that one. No. Mm-mm.
Okay, well, you need to check it out because it's a very, very powerful book, and it's all about the voice that in our head and the things that we say to each other. And one of the things that he says that was so powerful to me is he said that we carry on conversations in our head, and then we would never talk to a friend like we talk to ourselves in our head. And so
Mm.
it really woke me up to think, well, wait a minute, what am I saying to myself? And that's when it was like, okay, I would never say that kind of thing to one of my friends. So I've got to look at this a little bit differently. And I started really changing my verbiage about things from that point on.
Yeah, I mean, I have to check that book out,
Yeah.
Untethered Soul, because that's what I've started doing, is just changing. Just, I mean, not to say that I've arrived at that, but
I don't think
when I
anybody
catch my,
arrives. We're all a
but
work in progress.
yeah, but when I catch myself doing that, be like, oh, why did you do that? That was stupid or something. I said, nope, 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 that was a mistake, and I can learn from that. I start
Yes.
saying that to myself, because I just start embracing who I am, the person that says the wrong thing at the wrong time sometimes. Embracing how loud my laugh is, like just actually
We
liking
we
my
have a lot in common. I go to the movies with my daughter, and one of the things that she'll say when we leave is, "Mom, you laugh way too loud." Well, if it's funny, I'm sorry. I gotta laugh.
right. Well, see, and my daughter and I are funny because um like everybody hates to go to a movie with us or sit in the same room with us because my daughter and I would talk through the whole movie.
Oh gosh.
Like we
See,
just
that would
talk through
drive
the
me
whole.
bonkers.
I'm like, did you see that? What's going on? Did you? Oh my goodness! And we're sitting right next to each other. Of course, we saw it.
Yeah. Now, my sister and I, we can do that when we're at watching a movie or something. And then we'll even have to pause it sometimes and say, well, what did they just say? Because we were talking and we didn't hear it.
But
So,
those are good moments. Yeah,
yeah. So when did you write your book?
I just wrote it like a few months ago. I just
Oh,
self-published. I put it on Amazon,
okay.
and said it was time for it to come out because it's been sitting in my laptop for a long time. But I knew that it wouldn't have ended the way it did, like with the poems I've had that showed healing, if I would have released it years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Perfect timing.
right, because I'm a perfectionist, so I was like, is it long enough? Do I need to? I said, nope, just release it. That's all I need to do. I just need to get it out there, and I mean, that's what I've done, and I just always try to stay creative with writing and doing that kind of stuff because there's a whole lot more poems because I've been writing for a long time. But yeah, I've been thinking about a second book, but it's just like now I just need to keep being obedient and keep doing whatever the
Yeah.
doors keep opening for.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, just for those that are watching or listening, and the description of this episode, once it's published, we will have the links to your book, and links of any place that they can connect with you and places that they can connect with me. So it'll all be there so everybody can take advantage of reading the book. So is it on Kindle as well, or is it just on a physical book?
It's on Kindle as well,
Okay.
and so it's both. It's both.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's on Amazon Clearing the Room. It's under DeLisa Seals. Yes.
Oh, I am so excited. That's
Yeah.
so
So I mean,
exciting.
it is. It actually is exciting to me because I mean, doing podcasts now and just meeting the people that I'm meeting. I mean, it's just like I would have never thought in a million years that I've waited so long just trying to, like how you said, I always adjusted myself or try to fit in to with people. And I have made this mantra in my life, like I thrive in places where it's safe to be me. And I have to be in safe places. I used to say to myself, oh, I don't like surprises, but it really wasn't that. It was just that I didn't feel safe or
Mm-hmm.
the people around me I didn't feel safe with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very interesting when I look back how many years I just stayed almost like stuck with people, like I was so reliant on people, like, I was so needy, like, oh my goodness, I need this person or I need that person. And if I go back to my childhood and look, I was so self-reliant at one point. And my grandmother always spoke, to me. She never let me isolate myself if I got,
Mm-hmm.
by myself because I was really shy as a kid. So to do this now is just like, wow. I was like, this was me all along. Now I get to do all of this stuff. It's like great.
I know. It's beautiful. I love that. So when when you were a child, you said that you were very self-reliant, but then later you became needy. What happened? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I know a lot of like, like abandonment issues about my mom
Yeah,
and things like that.
I can see
And
that.
yeah, and self-confidence issues. So I think that's where it came from. And me being the oldest, but yet still I was kind of isolated from my brothers and sisters. So our relationship now is kind of like a little rocky, but we're close, but not as close as we should be. So I always just kind of like dumbed myself down kind of, and kind of,
So
tried
you didn't
everything.
rock the boat kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, stayed out of the way, and kind of growing up with the notion that certain things weren't for me. And so it took me a too long of a time to finally come out of that. But I'm glad I did finally, but it's like now I have such good people around me, and it's, because I wouldn't even make friends at one point in my life. And
Hmm.
now it's really interesting to call up people or text people, and now it's like, oh, I have friends now.
Well, you do have friends now, that's for sure.
Right.
And, like I said earlier when we were chatting, that I was so grateful that you're part of my group. And you were one of the people that, I give everybody an invitation. I give them this, make sure you go in and introduce yourself. And some people do, and some people don't. But you did just right away. And it was such a beautiful post. And I loved the picture. And was that you holding your book?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so it was like once you did that, well, it got some other people to say, well, it's okay for me to do this too. And so I think that's what you're doing with the storytelling that you're doing and the book that you've written, is that, and the book that the one woman show that you're writing, is that you're waking other people up to their possibilities too. And that's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you for saying that, because Julie Trainer, her and I, because she said, I think I want to write a one woman show. I said, you have a one woman show. And I've been reading, and I said, this is my year of yes, my whole year of yes. If I have
Okay.
to do it, I'm not afraid, because Shonda Rhimes has a book called The Year of Yes.
Okay.
And I've been listening to it on audiobook. And
I need to write this down. The Year of Yes.
oh my goodness, it's an amazing book. And she wrote it some time ago, but I've been hearing about it being in the library, never read it and everything else. And for some reason, The Year of Yes came to me, and I said, wait a minute, I think that's a book. Like I'm in the library. I'm like, that's a book. So I look it up and I said, that is a book by Shonda Rhimes. Somebody recommended it to me years ago, never read it. I started listening and I said, that's what this is. This is my year of yes, not turning down anything. So when Stacy told me to put a post out and tell people I want to be on their podcast, guess what? I'm going to have to do it afraid.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I get that, when God told me it's my time to release my book and to put out there, I'm doing a one woman show, and guess what? I'm going to have to say yes, because I don't know, what's on the other side of the yes.
Right.
I know what's on the other side of the no. There's nothing. There's
That's
nothing
right.
on the other side of a no.
That's right.
And my grandmother used to say that a no, like she used to say that a yes never harmed anybody, but a lot of no's have. And I
Mm.
said, you know what? But you have to say yes. I mean, how can you? I was never a person who asked for help or asked anybody for anything. But now it's like, no, it's actually two, that two are better than one.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like you said, you just don't know how you're helping somebody else by just saying, hey, you have expertise in this, can you help me do this? And people are so excited to help you, and
Yeah,
it is really really amazing to see that.
it is. It is. And as you're talking about the Year of Yes, it makes me think, did you ever see the movie with Jim Carrey, The Yes Man?
No,
Okay, well, you need to check that out too, because it's really cool, because he says no to everything, and he's a like a president of the bank, or I don't know, but he's a banker, and he has this boring life. He has the same sandwiches every week. Or every day, he always sits in the same place and all this. And then he goes to this conference thing, and it's the Yes Conference. And
mm-mm,
so he starts saying yes to things, and he meets people, and the way his life changes just from saying yes is just mind blowing. And of
mm,
course, it's written as a comedy, but it's very, very insightful on how, just by, like you said, saying yes to things and not being scared, or doing it anyway, even when you are scared. I
mhm.
mean, the opportunities that show up, the people that you meet, the things you get to do, is just so out there that you never would have dreamed of, right? I know that's the way
Oh
it is
yeah,
for me. Yeah.
most definitely. And that's why with Shonda's Rhimes book, I mean, that's what, her sister told you never say yes to anything, and she was like, and I said it wasn't even that I wouldn't say yes to certain things. It was just sometimes I would avoid certain things, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
I would see something like, a conference or something, especially like a women's conference. And I just wouldn't go. I just
Yeah.
like, oh no, I don't want to be there with all those people and everything else. But many times of now that I now go to a women's conference or a Bible study, or now I just go to a meetup and the people I meet, and it's like, oh, this is what is out there. This is, and it's just great to
Mm-hmm.
see just I mean, just how big the world is and the people
Yeah.
I connect with. Like I would have never met you if I never said
That's right. That's right.
yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said yes. I really am.
Right.
Because I love your smile. You radiate this positivity, this feeling about you. And so I'm very glad to have you in my group and on my
Thank
podcast
you.
and just in my world in general, right? Um,
Well, yeah.
yeah, and as you were talking, one of the things that was coming up for me was that when I used to be one of those people that wouldn't say yes, and didn't want to do things I didn't know how to do, to the extent that I remember one time in particular going with some friends, and we went to it was like one of these game places where they have all the different kinds of games and stuff, and
Mhm,
you play all this, and then they had pool and they had everything, right? And as we're
mhm.
walking around, a few of them would say, well, let's play this game. But I would look at it. And if I didn't know how to play it, instead of saying, well, if you'll teach me, I'd say, nah, I don't like games because I didn't want to try because I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to try it if I couldn't step on up to the plate in the moment and hit a home run. I didn't even want to try. And it
Right.
took me years to get out of that space to where now I would say, well, that looks like fun, but I don't know how to play. Can you show me? Very different experience and probably
Mhm,
a hell of a lot of fun instead of
mhm.
saying, no, I don't like games. And then I would stand to the side and watch people play games.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it is with us standing on the sidelines because, we're scared to stand out or because there was a wound there that, maybe you did ask for help and you didn't get it or something like that. But it's really nice to be around a group of people. Like you could be around strangers. There's always somebody that's a giver in that
Mm-hmm.
group.
Yeah.
And I love that to always find that out. And
Yeah.
you won't ever kind of get that out of that person if you never ask for help, you know?
Yeah.
If you
I
never
love
say,
that.
but there's always givers
Mm-hmm.
around. Once you speak something out, like I know you could probably tell stories of the moment you started a podcast, like all the people that would come and just wanted to help you or that wanted to be on your podcast because once you start making the moves towards your destination or on your journey, there will always be helpers. There will
Yeah.
always be people that will come right out of in there and say, hey, I know how to do this YouTube or I know how to do that. But if you say, oh no, 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 I don't want to learn that or I don't want to do that, then you close your own door, then you close your own doors. And then,
Yeah.
it's just amazing how just just how I don't know how God does it,
Mm-hmm.
just how the whole world just opens up to you
Yeah.
when you just say yes.
Well,
It's
see,
amazing.
one of the things that you just said that I really want everybody to pay attention to is when you said that in any crowd, even if you don't know anybody, there's always a giver. Now,
Mhm,
that is such a stretch from the way most people think, right? Because most people think, well, somebody's going to make fun of me, somebody's going to this, somebody's going to do that. right? That's why people avoid getting into certain groups and things because they figure everybody's going to be against them. But it's beautiful when you think about, and that is true. If you're around a group of people and you ask for help, there's at least one, probably more than one, that will reach up and
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I got you. Let me show you how to do that." I mean, and so I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is definitely part of the mindset that we all should have, right?
Right. Well, I mean, once we and I mean, I know we're a culture based on beauty, right? But if we all understand that we're attractive people, we are all attractive people, and we attract what we want to get out of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to learn that, like when I was just attracting people that just kind of, I call them like life vampires that just suck the life out of me.
Yep.
And because I'm a giving person, I'm a generous person. I love to give gifts to people. Like I just love to give advice, or I love to just sit with people, whatever I can give to
Mm-hmm.
someone. I love to do that. So once I do that, I have to understand that being an attractive person, that I will attract either people that will take from me or people that will give back to me. Like, we're just there talking and laughing, just like how we're doing now. But once you're in a good place and I don't need people to just pull from me and never give back anything in return, then your whole attitude changes. But
Yeah.
once you say, I need help, and those people come, and I mean, it's such a great feeling because there always are givers, and it's always been true in my life, but I never recognized it because I was always looking at the people who weren't giving me what I needed,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's all
So
in
once
our
I changed,
focus. It's what we're focusing on, right?
right, it's all in your perception. So once I finally understood and finally was honest with myself
Mm-hmm.
on what I really needed, then yeah, it all changes. And it's always ask for help. Never be ashamed to ask for help.
That's right. That's right. And there's and one of the things you said just a little bit ago was about that book that you had knew about the book, but you just didn't do anything with it for a while. And that's that old thing is when the student is ready, the teacher will come, right? So if you
Right,
had
right.
read that book back then, you might not have gotten anything out of it because you weren't ready to get that information. And what I find for me is like I could read the book once and then I go back and read it again. And it's like I've changed since I read it the first time. So it looks like somebody's put in new words because I never even noticed them before. And so to me, it's amazing as we grow and become who we're supposed to be. We change so much from day to day that the things that were important to us that we saw yesterday or a week before, we can see that same thing and see it totally different.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, I was trying, I actually said this to myself, like, like I'm always writing, doing journaling. And I said to myself, I said, I tried to hang on to people that really didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like in the long
Yeah.
run, like you were like, these people were not coming with me on this journey, at
Yeah.
all. But it's very like how you said, once you change your focus, and I didn't know I was me. Like I was always so afraid of being myself because I was like, well, I want people to like me. Nobody's not gonna like me if I not like this person or not like that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And and then now that I'm myself and I actually can, and I'm going out and meeting people, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't need to fit in into anything. I was always called to stand out, and I stand out in places
Yeah.
with my loud laugh. And then you can
Mm-hmm.
tell where I am in a room.
That's right.
And
Me too.
I mean, it is. It's a good thing. And then you get to meet the right people. The right people
Right.
will come.
Yeah, I know. I love it. The thing like I just had a conversation this morning, I think it was. I don't remember, it doesn't matter. But I was talking about how we magnetically draw people to us by the vibration, the thoughts that we think, the things that we do. And when you're vibrating in this place, that is a beautiful place for you, being authentically you and loving who you are, and taking stock of your gifts and talents and being grateful for all the things. When you're being that, the people that you used to would come to you, well, like those bad relationships, they wouldn't even come past the force field now, because
Mm-hmm.
there's no way they could get past
Right.
they would be repelled from that, and you certainly wouldn't open the door and let them in. And so it's amazing when you can get so into who you are and appreciative of all of that. It changes everything about you and the world around you in an amazing way.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I mean, it's amazing how, like now at 50, it's like, oh my goodness, I just went from one thing to the next, and I was always in survival mode, and then I was raising kids, and I just wanted my kids just to act right, just be right, just do everything right. And like never really letting them like be who they were, because it's just like,
Hmm.
no, do this, you
Yeah,
need to do that. Now it's just like, even with the grandkids and with my kids now, we just laugh about certain things, because I was like so uptight. But my youngest son, of course, as there's a big space, he gets like the best of me, as they say.
yeah.
But it's like this new me. It's so nice, and now I'm enjoying motherhood. I'm enjoying being grandma. Like, I'm enjoying this life now, and it's great to see all of their different personalities and get to cultivate. And now with my book, I get to finally show them. I said, it's up to me to show you who you are to become. My one grandson is an excellent artist, and my daughter can draw, and so can my oldest son. It's just like cultivating all of that in them and letting their gifts show no matter how it manifests itself.
Hmm.
I've graduated from college. I've done all these things just so the doors can be open for them.
Yeah, yeah. You're an amazing mom and amazing grandmother, I will say. I am
Well,
very
thank you.
envious. I don't have any grandchildren. I have two children, but no grandchildren. And I wonder sometimes if I ever will, but it's not for me to decide, right? So I just have to play with other people's children, have pets, that kind of thing. And in some ways that's probably easier.
Right. But
Well,
yeah, I mean,
go
but it's
ahead.
life. No,
Say
I
that
said, but
again.
it's life. I said, but it's life. It always happens.
That's right. That's right. And isn't it beautiful to be able to sit in this space right now and be appreciative of all of these gifts that you have? And it hasn't been that long ago that was not the place you were, and that's not been that long ago that's not the place I was. And the thing that I love is that we get to choose if we want to move forward into a better way. Because one of the things that's always on my thoughts is there's no such thing as staying in the same place. You're always changing. You're either changing on purpose to where you want to be or who you want to be, who you are inside, or you're going in default. You're just going with the whim of the wind and what somebody else says. And so I kind of like, it's like a house that's not tended to, it's not loved on and everything, it just deteriorates. And so when
Mm,
we don't change on purpose for the things that we want to do in our life, we're just deteriorating.
mm,
So
I like that.
yeah. So it's nice to get to the place where you're in control of that and you recognize that it is your choice and you get to decide deteriorate or keep growing and shining.
Right.
That's a no-brainer to me.
Right. I mean, exactly. I mean, and you have to realize that it's not too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late. I mean, how many times have I turned 20? I turned 30. I turned 40, and I was still the same, but I was always saying, "Oh, I'm in transition. Oh, I'm healed. Oh, I'm doing this." and I was just doing the same thing, but at a different age. And
Yeah.
I was just going through life like that. And now it's like, I graduated college at 46 years old.
What did you
At
study,
40,
by the way?
I have my degree I graduated magna cum laude. I did with hotel and business event planning focus.
Oh, okay.
With business
Mm-hmm.
or hotel planning. And 47 doing storytelling. Never thought I'd do that. Then at 49, we're releasing a book, all of that, it's just like it's never too late because like you said, we're always changing. So you might as well change for the better
Mm-hmm.
because it's it just feels good. It just
Yeah.
I mean, and it's scary. It really is scary to change and to let go of old things. But once you do, your life will never be the same.
That's right. And the thing too is like um when we're going through the process of changing and it's scary and we do it anyway. I mean, the gratitude and the confidence that comes to you is just so huge in helping you to, because I figure like if you can do it once, you can do it again. So if you step outside your comfort zone and you do it and it ends up being better than what you expected, then it's really easy to do it the next time. So it's like one of those muscles. You have to just kind of exercise it a little bit and tease it some so you don't start with the biggest thing. You
Mhm.
start with something small so you can kind of get that muscle built up just a little bit before you start leaping. And then you can leap and jump off cliffs or whatever the hell you want to because you know that the God's there and the net's going to catch you. You're going to make it.
No, I love that. Yep. Yeah, I mean, how many times have we fallen down? But I mean, even as little kids, you see them toddling around at 1 year old, but they would never know how to walk if they didn't fall down and bang something. And they were like, okay, I'm not going to do that again,
I know. And then the parents sit them in a little chair and they tie them down so they won't ever get hurt.
Right. Right, but I mean, that's the thing. We just, I mean, I think we have to go back to our childhood. I think we have to go back to the simple things. I
Hmm.
think, I mean, there's always this little girl inside of me, and yes, I want to protect her now. I didn't protect her for such a long time, and now I want to speak up for her. I'll tell people, no, you can't say certain things to me because no, that did not feel good. I have to be honest with myself now in certain spaces because I'm at work and I'm in a small space, but it's like and we all have different personalities, so we all have to respect each other's boundaries. But I used to not speak up for myself, or I was so reactive that I would wait till something would build up and then just spill out on everybody, and everything
Hmm.
else. But now I know how to express myself without doing all of that. So it actually just feels good now how I use words. I've
Hmm.
always used words. I've always written. I've always did poetry. I've always done everything, but I've never ever mastered how to use those words. And
Yeah.
now I get to use them the right way.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, you're definitely doing a great job of it because I'm loving this conversation.
Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. All right, so we're getting close to time. So, of all the things that we've talked about, when you agreed to be on the podcast, was there something that you wanted to make sure that you talked about that maybe I haven't thought to ask or we haven't touched on yet? Was there something in your
No,
mind?
no, I mean we've talked about everything. I mean,
Okay.
I just, but I love your podcast because it is a safe space, and um, and you give people the space to be creative. Like you're just like just come on and be yourself, which is really nice. And I'm still learning myself. Like I'm
Hmm.
going to make mistakes, and so I'm going to do that. But I just love doing this and love the people that I'm meeting. Like I just love meeting you, and I just love just the cadence in your voice and just
Oh,
listening to
thank
you.
you. Well, I am a hypnotist, so.
Right, right. I mean, it does. It actually gives you that feeling too, right? But it's such a relaxing thing. It's so nice to be at peace. I mean, in my life, being in a abusive relationship where you can somebody comes home and it can disrupt the whole vibration of a house, and or just being with people that and my and I know you know what I'm talking about, how you could be with the person but everything in you knows this is not where I want to be, but
Hmm.
you're like, oh no, I have to be with these people, like having my peace disturbed in so many different ways, but now being around people who are peaceful, who are agreeable with you, to be yoked with people who are like that, it just feels good.
Yeah.
It just really feels
It's like
nice.
night and day, isn't it?
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. I've been in those situations too, where it's like it's somebody walks in and I forgot what you called them a minute ago, but my mom used to call them psychic vampires. They would they would suck all the energy out of a room and make you feel like you were dying with all the energy that they had there. Um, so for me, a lot of times it would be those situations, I would try to be nice and make them happy. And then sometimes, I don't know if it was um, my self-esteem was so low or if I'd always just been a people pleaser, but if somebody came to me, it didn't matter if I didn't feel this connection or if I felt like they weren't a good person or whatever, I would still welcome them in because of being a people pleaser. And so it's wonderful now to be in a place where I have clear boundaries. And when someone tries to cross those boundaries now, it's like, I don't think so. Thanks for playing, but we're not playing this game. And you just move on. Whereas used to, I would, if I thought somebody was going to get their feelings hurt, if I said, well, I really don't want to be doing that, then I would go ahead and make peace and do things I didn't want to do. It could just be going out to dinner and not wanting to go with these people. I remember one time I had this one lady, I was only friends with her because her daughter was friends with my daughter. But she was one of those people that she sucked the energy out of the room. There was not one solitary word that would come out of her mouth that wasn't some kind of depressing thing or a construction of some talking about people in a bad way. And she would talk about people in the restaurant. It was like very hard to sit and listen, but I would
Mhm.
still invite her all the time to go to dinner with some of my friends. And one of the times, this one lady who hadn't been in there in a long time, she said, "Oh my gosh, Vicky," she said, "please don't ever invite that woman again." She said, "If she sits in dinner one more time," she said, "I think I'll slit my wrist." She said, "This is horrible. I've never met anybody that could depress a crowd so much." And for some reason, once she said that, then I thought, well, yeah, well, why am I letting her
Right.
hang out with us? Because I don't want to hurt her feelings, but then I'm negating mine and everybody else's for her. And so I
Mhm.
stopped inviting her to go to these dinners. And it was like she just peacefully went on her own way. It's almost like she didn't even notice. But
Right.
it was so peaceful and relaxing, and we laughed and we had a good time. And so I've never even told anybody this before, so I don't know why I'm saying it today, but it is amazing when you get to this place where it's like what I want matters too,
Mhm.
and you stop
Mhm.
letting everybody else's wishes top yours.
Right. Right. Because I've had to learn, because just like that lady, I've had to learn that some people don't want to be friends. Some people just want an audience. That's
Ah, I
all.
like that. Yeah. I think
They
that's
just
what
want an
it
audience.
was.
'Cause I was friends with somebody. You could get on the phone. We would talk. I mean, not we. She would talk for 40 minutes. Never ask me how I'm doing. Never ask for anything. Going about her life, and then and I would hang up, and I would be exhausted. I have to take a nap after I would get off the phone with you. But and then I was just like, and I mean, I would see this person's number come on my phone, and I would cringe
Yeah.
because I didn't answer the phone. And I said, well, if you don't want to, then I would do all my self talk. If you don't want to answer the phone, why are you even talking to them? And why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was just, why am I even doing it if I don't even? But like you said, once you release that person, then you see the piece, you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
why, a
Yeah.
light bulb comes on.
That's right. That's right. And you get to be a lot more astute of what your boundaries are and whether or not you let people cross them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's all about being mature and growing in yourself. And I mean, it's really is. It's a necessary. It's a necessary thing. And I'm glad I'm here now. I mean, I'm still working on when people congratulate me about my book, or people will say, "Well, what are you working on?" I'm still working on accepting that, like accepting praise, or somebody saying something to me. So, you know, those are still my little baby steps.
Okay. Okay. Well, I see that. Well, just keep showing up. And every time somebody says congratulations, just say thank you and let it be. You don't have to elaborate on it any further. It's just accepting the thank you. And the more you do that, the easier it'll be to accept all of that.
Right, right. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I have enjoyed the heck out of this. And so I look forward to seeing you in the group more, and maybe I'll have you on again at some point. And I can't wait to see how this one woman show is going to turn out, because I know it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to see what all shows up in your life, because you definitely have this blessed presence about you now. So I know everything's going exactly the way it should.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it and I receive
All
it.
right. See, there you go. You received it. Thank goodness. Well, DeLisa, it has been such a pleasure. And so I'm going to leave everybody with my favorite quote. And so my quote is, the best way to predict the future is create it. Now, for whatever reason, it always seems to fit perfectly with every conversation I have. And so it definitely holds true for this one. So thank you so much for being here today. And I thank you for everyone that is watching or listening. Make sure to check out the show notes and connect with DeLisa, or connect with myself, or with both of us. It doesn't matter. But have an amazing day, and we will see you soon. Mwah.